This piece of wood has some potential problems with it, with bark or bug or disease or both, or all three. And it's been turned, with traditional tools up to this point. But there's going to become a thickness. Well, maybe I won't do it. Hey, Don?
Don, where's the 3/4 socket and ratchet so we can slide the bed back about an inch?
Can I just take this off?
Yeah. Got a couple of bolts. Oh, we didn't time all. I love the flexibility of these lathes. It's just amazing what you can do with them.
That should be enough, shouldn't it?
I know.
Thank you, sir.
Now, the first worry I have with demonstrating a router is people getting the name right, but the concept wrong. This is not a handheld tool. You cannot put it on your tool rest and turn with it. It has to be mechanically held. I mean, it cannot be loose. This is a very dangerous. I use 4-blade carbide cutters. They last a long time. There's other people that are selling small little routers that you just put on a piece of wood tool rest and slide around to make your thing. Well, they're using 1/8" cutters, and they've got a limitation on the top of them, so you can only cut about a 1/16 of an inch depth at a time. This has no limitation on what it can cut, but it has to be mechanically held. And the only time this cutter can move is when it's moved mechanically. You know, there's a mechanical method that moves it in and out, and left and right.
Is that home built? No.
No, this is off the shelf, Harbor Freight, as is the router. I just put it in their vise, and as a backup I put what do they call, worm drive clamp on there, and it goes under the screw that holds the, I guess it'd be the X on this one. But these things have to be held rigidly, and you can only move them mechanically, no hand moving. In fact, even doing the bowl swing thing has to be done very, very carefully. I have this thing down to where it almost doesn't move, and then I can just tap on it to move it. Ideally, and I'd have to change the height of this, ideally I'd have a mechanical way to rotate it. And that would be a rotary table. If this XY is mounted on top of this rotary, and then the shaft goes down into my tool rest, now I could rotate it by turning the handle. All mechanical, no free play. And interestingly enough, on eBay, I found, and they probably still make something like this. Here is a rotary table XY with a vise. Skinnier than all that. But this is an old Craftsman. I thought, wow, how cool is that? But you want something mechanical to hold it. Hand emphasize that in top. Now, like all routers, they only turn in one direction, and you want them to be approaching the wood or compressing the wood. These 4-blade bits, you can get them in different lengths, will act just like a gear. If you're not mechanically held tight or you've got too much slop in your thing, those 4 blades will catch the wood and want to walk. So they'll just rip this thing, you know, at a hard speed. But if you have it all mechanical, not going to be a problem. Now, if you're, again, you want the blade is turning this direction, you want to push it into the wood so that it's, you know, forced to cut it. If you try to go the other way, it may decide it grabs and runs. But if it's well held mechanical, not going to make a lot of difference which way you go. But if it's not held well, it'll make a heck of a difference.
Where do you get the disc?
I get these from MSC, but you go on eBay, now there's millions of vendors selling the bits. All different price. I assume they're all made in the same factory in China.
Is
But
that rather than a router, is that what they call the die grinder?
this particular one is a die grinder.
Longer than this one.
And I use that if I'm going to do anything deep like that vase that was trying around. These roto zips work pretty good. They have a nice even body that fits in the vise. I have a big lathe like this. Now the X on this is about 6 inches, and the Y unfortunately is a lot farther. I wish it was reversed. But 6 inches, you can go only 6 inches. So I'd have to move it at least once to cover this whole distance. And not that that's hard to do, you just loosen this up and move it. But then you got to try to make sure you're lined up on the same plane, or if you're making a shallow thing, you got to line it. Not that hard to do, but I like to try and improve on my technique, so I'm making this one, which will travel 16 inches. And it'll hold a Bosch router, which I have sitting right there. And then, you know, I can do the Y
You're
and a long
manufacturing
X. Well, these are parts from a company that sells a lathe by the name of Legacy Woodworking. This is their XYZ frame that goes on their lathe. And it's, there's some cool stuff you can do with that. But if I'm routing, if I want to rough out something really big, I want to put a cutter on there bigger than a 1/4 inch. This is slow. But with something that, again, mechanical.